Brockton, Massachusetts, home of Rocky Marciano, Marvin Hagler, and this game in the MIAA Division I South Girls Basketball Tournament. Hello everyone, I'm Mark Farinella of the Sun Chronicle, and I was there to watch the 7th-seeded Mansfield Hornets bid to upset the 2nd-seeded Boxers. A win for the Hornets, who didn't make it to the tournament last year, would be a crown jewel in the collection that Mike Redding has amassed over 16 years as head coach. The Hornets knew they were going to be in for a battle right from the start of this quarterfinal round contest. Brockton's man-to-man pressure and impressive defensive quickness made it difficult to get the ball where they wanted it. But as this drive by Caroline Maher illustrates, they gained confidence in challenging the Brockton press as the opening quarter continued, and they found they could create good looks at the basket. Here, freshman guard Jen Peel penetrates and dishes off to sophomore forward Sarah Malahi for an easy basket. Mansfield led 15-9 after the first quarter and beat back a second quarter charge by the Boxers to lead 25-22 at the half. Even when Brockton picked up both the offensive and defensive intensity after the break, the Hornets still hung tough because they never quit on a play. That's illustrated here by Janet Maher's recovery of a potential turnover and her sister's drive to the basket for 2 points. But there was a wild card in the deck for Brockton, sophomore forward Tony Fairhurst, number 11, who became an unstoppable force in the paint.
Yeah, she was a big factor. When we did beat him off the dribble, she seemed to be hanging around with the blocker. Again, we got a little intimidated, and they're a very good defensive team. I think they knew at halftime the game was on the line. They cranked it up, and we played hard. I mean, we're in the game. I think it was like 49-44 with about 5-6 minutes to go, and then they just had that great run where they hit a couple of threes, got some turnovers. But we're at Brockton against the 2 seed with a chance to win with 4 or 5 minutes to go, and I'm just proud of how hard they played. And
Brockton outscored Mansfield 40-24 in the second half, but the Hornets kept working hard right to the very finish of their 15-7 season. The final score, Brockton 62, Mansfield 49. The Maher sisters combined for 26 points, and Janet matched Alyssa Kelly's team-high rebound total with 8. Brockton hit 8 of 32 three-point attempts in the game, while Mansfield shot 6 for 15 behind the arc. Thursday also marked the end of King Philip's season, with the same 15-7 record as the Hornets. After beating Marshfield in the first round of the tournament, the 8th-seeded Warriors traveled to Braintree to meet the top-seeded Womps. To everyone's surprise, KP trailed by just 6 points at halftime, but Braintree raced to a 19-9 advantage in the third quarter and never looked back. The final score, Braintree 58, King Philip 36. Amanda Johnson's 13 points led the way for the Warriors, who engineered a terrific turnaround this year under first-year head coach Martin Crowley. The good news of the night came out of the Division II South quarterfinals. Foxborough's 13th-seeded Warriors proved that the third time was the charm against the 12th-seeded Stoughton Black Knights, who had won 2 nail-biters against the Warriors in the Hockomock League Davenport Division's regular season. This one was no different, as Foxborough had to outscore Stoughton 28-13 in the second half and 14-4 in the final quarter to pull out the 52-47 win. Junior Catherine Tamaleonis scored a game-high 21 points, and she and Caroline Rathgeb pulled down 9 rebounds apiece for Coach Lisa Down's crew, which now advances to the semifinal round of play against top-seeded and undefeated Duxbury next week at Massasoit Community College in Brockton. The date and time of the game will be announced at a later date by the MIAA. Friday night, the last 2 local boys teams still active in the tournament will put their seasons on the line on their own home courts. In the Division I South quarterfinals, 3rd-seeded Mansfield will entertain 11th-seeded Brookline. They were the Hornets' opponent in last year's South Sectional semifinal at UMass Boston. And in Division II South, the top-seeded Bishop Fee Shamrocks will face their second Hockomock League foe in this tournament, the 8th-seeded Canton Bulldogs, one of the best teams assembled at that school in quite some time. Both games begin at 6:30 p.m. On Saturday, it's a pair of quarterfinal round games in the girls' tournament. In Division I South, it will be the battle for supremacy of the Jewelry City, as 5th-seeded Attleboro visits number 4 Bishop Fee at 1 p.m. the winner advancing to a showdown with top seed Braintree next week. And in Division 4 Central, the Tri-County Cougars will entertain Hopedale High School with hopes of making it 2 for 2 on their home court. The game time has been changed to 5 p.m., 2 hours earlier than originally announced, so please reserve the high-speed lane of I-495 for me after I get out of the Attleboro-Feehan game. I love rematches, so the next stop for me will be the Albertini Gym to see Brookline battling Mansfield. Your next stop will be this address on the World Wide Web for another edition of the Hoop Report. See you then.